Let's now go to file item 110, AB 489, Assemblymember Gonzalez. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 489 by Assemblymember Gonzalez, an act relating to awards.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker and members. California annually awards the Public Safety Medal of Valor to public safety officers for extraordinary valor above and beyond the call of duty. Currently, firefighters, law enforcement officers, including correction and court officers, along with EMTs, are all eligible to receive this award. The public safety officer nominations are selected by an 11-member board. Here's the problem. Ocean lifeguards are not included as a group of eligible recipients to the Public Safety Medal of Valor. Just last year, Ben Carlson, a 32-year-old Newport Beach lifeguard, lost his life in the line of duty, saving a distressed swimmer. Ocean lifeguards risk their life every day to keep our public safe, yet they don't even qualify for this award. AB 489 will change this. The bill will also include the addition of an ocean lifeguard representative to the Public Safety Medal of Valor Review Board. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Leckie.
Yes, members, as a proud member of the California Highway Patrol, actually retired member, after 28 years of service, I proudly commend the author of this bill for allowing those who have also shown a level of commitment to public service to be considered for this Medal of Valor and for their level of service, and I urge your aye vote.
Mr. Cooper.
I, too, rise in support of AB 489. As a 30-year member of the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, I've seen all too often where members of the public safety community go out and risk their lives day in and day out, and they should be recognized. Lifeguards, EMTs, as long as they're out there serving the public, I, too, support this bill and respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing, hearing no further debate. Oh, Mr. Harper.
Thank you very much. As a representative of Huntington Beach, Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, I see this as a very worthy measure and rise also in support.
That's it. Seeing and hearing no further debate. Mr. Allen.
As a surfer in Huntington Beach, it also represents Huntington Beach with my colleague Matthew Harper. I fully am in support of this measure. One thing that we don't actually realize is that unless you're looking at the blotters and in the obituaries in your paper, being a lifeguard is actually a pretty dangerous occupation, and a number of lives are lost of tourists and of locals every year, and also lifeguards protecting them. I think this is a fantastic measure. I'd like to compliment the author on the bill and fully support it.
Mr. Rodriguez.
I also want to rise in support of the author's bill. As a former and current EMT, we always put our lives on the line, so thank the author for this important bill. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, Assemblymember Gonzalez, you may close.
This bill has received unanimous bipartisan support thus far, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 77, no 0. The measure passes. Moving to file item 111, AB 503. Assemblymember Rodriguez, the clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 503 by Assemblymember Rodriguez, an act relating to emergency medical services.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. AB 503 would permit hospitals to release patient-identifiable medical information to emergency medical services providers such as ambulance companies and the local emergency medical service agencies for quality assessment and patient care improvement purposes. The bill is sponsored by the California Hospital Association. Currently, HIPAA regulations permit hospitals to release this type of medical information for quality assessment and improvement purposes. However, state law, as written decades ago, does not explicitly permit such disclosures. AB 503 will align state law with HIPAA regulations and allow patient outcomes to be improved through the sharing of this valuable information. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, I will take that as your close. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 77, no 0. The measure passes. If we can now go to file item 112, ACR 1, Mr. Levine, the clerk will read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 1 by Assemblymember Levine, relative to the Robin Williams Tunnel.
Mr. Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. ACR 1 names a tunnel on Highway 101 in Marin County after beloved actor Robin Williams. I respectfully ask for an aye vote and that the first roll be open for co-authors.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, we'll open up the first roll call for co-authors. The clerk will open the roll. Members, this is for co-authors. The clerk will close the roll. 74 co-authors are added. We need a roll call vote on this measure because it's a fiscal measure. With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 76, no 0. The measure passes. We're going to pass and retain file items 113, 114, 115, and 116. File item 117, AB 1141. Mr. Ed Chow. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1141 by Assemblymember Chow, an act relating to civil actions.
Mr. Chow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 1141 would reinstate and make permanent a summary adjudication statute that inadvertently sunsetted. It also removes a disparity in current law by allowing a plaintiff to seek both pre- and post-offer expert fees, as it is the case currently for defendants. In 2011, SB 384 established the ability of parties to move for summary adjudication of issues, even if the motion would not completely dispose of a cause of action or an affirmative defense, if the court determines that the motion will further interest of judicial economy. But the summary adjudication provisions inadvertently sunsetted on January 1st, 2015, resulting in the loss of a tool that promotes judicial economy. Further, in 2005, an amendment to AB 1742 inserted the word post-offer into Subdivision D of Code of Civil Procedure, Section 998. AB 1742 was a Judiciary Committee omnibus bill that was non-controversial. As the statute currently reads, when a plaintiff rejects a 998 settlement offer and fails to receive a better judgment at trial, he or she can be subject to an award of both pre- and post-offer expert fees paid by the defendant. However, if the defendant rejects a plaintiff's offer and fails to do better at trial, the plaintiff can only seek post-offer cost of the service of expert witnesses. This inequity in the application of Section 998 applies more pressure on plaintiffs rather than defendants. AB 1141 would, 1, reinstate and make permanent the sunsetted provision in the summary adjudication statute, and 2, correct the inadvertent legislative oversight and disparity of 998 offers on plaintiffs. Thank you, and respectfully ask for a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chow. Mr. Wagner, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Reluctantly, and I do mean reluctantly, I have to rise in opposition to this bill. It has two components. The first, restoring the ability to move for summary adjudication, is easy. That's a no-brainer in a standalone bill. That one ought to pass unanimously. It's the second part of the bill that gives me pause. What it does is, as the author correctly states, is in the statute appear to balance the rights of defendants and plaintiffs to recover costs following what are called 998 offers of settlement. The problem, though, is that the parties themselves in these cases don't come into the litigation in an equal position to know, to evaluate, and to make settlement offers. And that's the reason why the statutes are unbalanced in their in their language and ultimately in their application in the courtroom. We talked in judiciary to try to find the reason why the statutes were different after 2005. Some folks said, oh, it was inadvertent. Well, that wasn't established, that it was in fact inadvertent, because in practice it does make some sense. Real briefly, the plaintiffs have all the time in the world, subject to statute of limitations, to evaluate their case, figure it out, find out their damages, and then begin the litigation. The defendants, on the other hand, often, not always, but often, are forced to go through discovery, get the information from the plaintiff, to themselves fairly evaluate the case. And that's why it's not unfair to have this disparity. If, in fact, the parties came into the litigation equal, the bill would be supportable. Unfortunately, they don't. There is just this standing issue and difference. That's why the statutes are different. That's why the imbalance actually makes sense. And that's why folks like the Chamber of Commerce and CJAC and some others who have real experience with these issues say, it isn't a problem, it isn't broken, don't try to fix it. So reluctantly, because of that component of the bill, I have to oppose it and urge you do as well, and we'll come back maybe even this session with a bill to fix the summary adjudication. So I urge a no vote for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Seeing no discussion, further discussion or debate, Mr. Chow, you may close.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Although the plaintiff, in many instances, may have a little more time in preparing the cases, however, over the years, many courts have held that 998 offers is only valid and enforceable if it's served by a plaintiff before the defendant has been afforded a reasonable opportunity to conduct discovery. In fact, that has been confirmed in many court cases. I'd like to cite one of them. It's Najera versus Huerta 2011 case, 191 Calep 4th, 872. And also in practice, these 998 exchanges are not being done until considerable discovery have been conducted. So that would give equal footing to both parties when it comes to settlement offers. And it's clearly that the term post-offer was inserted into the omnibus bill by mistake, and there's no evidence to prove to the contrary. And in fact, this measure is supported by both the Plaintiff's Counsel and also the Legal Defense Counsel, as well as the California State Bar, as well as Judicial Council. And also, more importantly, CCP 998 statutes is there to incentivize settlement offers. And in light of what the court system is going through, in that the court system is being burdened by overloading of cases, it makes sense to have this equal level playing field for both parties. So with that, I'd like to ask for your consideration and support.
Thank you, Mr. Chow. With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 47, noes 28. Measure passes. Members, we're going to move back in the file to file item 84. File item 84, that's AB 418. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 418 by Assemblymember Chu and others, an act relating to Tennessee.
Mr. David Chu, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I appreciate your consideration of AB 418 to allow domestic violence survivors to continue to terminate residential leases early in order to move to safer housing. AB 418 would also reduce a survivor's rent obligation from 30 days to 14. We all know that to survive domestic violence, elder and dependent abuse, human trafficking, or stalking, leaving a dangerous situation can be the difference between life or death. Unfortunately, many can't leave a life-threatening situation because of residential leases and rent obligations. AB 418 would allow survivors to continue to terminate leases early by removing a sunset date of a 2013 law that had allowed for this early termination. If this law sunsets, a survivor can only terminate a lease through a much more onerous process, which is dangerous for survivors, particularly immigrants with limited English proficiency. This bill would also decrease the remaining rent a survivor needs to pay to leave from 30 days to 14 for domestic violence victims, often in intense need of funds for new housing. This bill is a common sense policy not only for survivors, but also for neighbors and landlords to provide them with an opportunity to seek safe housing in potentially dangerous situations. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Mr. Alejo.
Mr. Speaker, since this is my colleague's first bill from San Francisco, this bill is a very good bill protecting victims of domestic violence and human trafficking. With this bill, do you think that you're better than the rest of us just because you went to this university called Harvard 3 times?
I appreciate your germane and relevant question to this important topic. With someone I know like yourself who has such an impressive degree, also with degrees from Harvard, Berkeley, and UC Davis, Mr. Alejo, I ask you to tell me and answer that question.
Well, I'll answer it if you could explain to all of us. since you grew up in Boston, how you got rid of your Boston accent once you moved to San Francisco?
As a child of immigrants like yourself, I spent a lot of time with my parents learning how to speak English and ensuring that we are part of the democratic process that we're engaged in right at this very moment.
Okay, you don't have to overdo it. Thank you.
Mr. Wilk, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My friend from Watsonville, who's been served in this House for 5 years now, should know that he should be addressing the chair and not the author of the bill. I just would like to point that out.
That's not a point of order, but point well taken. Mr. Chu, you may close on this measure.
Thank you, colleagues. I appreciate your consideration and your support for this very important item. Ask for your aye vote.
With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 74, no 0. Measure passes. Moving to file item 118. File item 118, that's AB 902. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 902 by Assemblymember Bloom and others, an act relating to traffic violations.
Mr. Bloom, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Most people receive their only training on bicycle law via the driver's license test, which does not go into significant detail about safety from a bicyclist perspective. Young people and those without driver's license, they don't receive any mandatory bicycle training. So people are sometimes unaware of important safety practices beyond the legal requirements that would help to protect them from injury when they ride a bicycle. AB 902 enables local authorities to create bicycle diversion programs that would allow adult bicyclists to go to a bike education class, much of the way one might go to a traffic school, in lieu of or with a reduced fine. Ticketed cyclists would then be allowed to attend a bicycle traffic school class and have their fine reduced, which would turn a purely monetary penalty into hopefully a valuable educational opportunity, especially for people who would be unlikely to attend a bicycle safety class on their own volition. AB 902 is supported by the California Bicycle Coalition and the California Police Chiefs Association. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, we will take that as your close. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 73, noes 0. The measure passes. Let's now go to file item 119, SCR 26. Bill by Mr. Canton-Chu.
Thank you, Speaker.
Actually, the clerk will read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 26 by Senator Bell relative to Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month.
Mr. Chu.
Thank you, speakers and members. I rise to present SCR 26 to proclaim November 2015 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. Pancreatic cancer is one of the deadly cancer and is anticipated to move from fourth to the second cause of cancer death in the United States by 2020. The 5-year survival rate for the pancreatic cancer is only 7%, and symptoms usually appears in the late stage of the disease. The intent of this resolution is to urge all our citizens to be more informed of this deadly disease and support friends and families suffering through this deadly disease. Also support the effort of finding a cure. I respectfully ask for your aye vote, and I would like to open the first row for co-author.
Seeing and hearing no further debate, the first row will be open for co-authors. The clerk will open the roll. Members, this is for co-authors. The clerk will close the roll. There are 74 co-authors. And without objection, we will take a voice vote on this measure. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. When we now go to our consent calendar, does any member wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? Seeing and hearing none, the clerk will read the second-day consent calendar.
Assembly Bill 72 by Assemblymember Bonta and others, an act relating to Medi-Cal, declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
The clerk will open the roll on the consent calendar. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. Ayes 73, no 0. The consent calendar is adopted. The clerk will read the remaining bills on the second-day consent calendar.
Assembly Bill 81 with urgency.
Ayes 73, no 0. On the urgency. Ayes 73, no 0 on the measure.
Assembly Bill 163.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 220.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 224.
Ayes 73, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 73, no 0 on the measure.
Assembly Bill 249.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 274.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 354.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 362.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 370.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 394.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 424.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 444.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 467.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 546.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 860.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 893.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 991.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 1105.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 1303.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 1432.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 1514.
Ayes 73, no 0.
Assembly Bill 1515.
Ayes 73, no 0.
And Senate Concurrent Resolution 21.
Ayes 73, no 0. That concludes our business on the daily file. Why don't we now move to adjournments in memory? We have a number of requests to adjourn in memory. I've been asked to remind folks if we could keep our comments to 2-3 minutes, that would be greatly appreciated. The following members were granted permission to speak on an adjourn in memory. I'd like to recognize Mr. Bloom at your desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that we adjourn in memory of Yael Hornstein Galperin, the mother of Los Angeles City Controller Ron Galperin, who passed away on April 5th at age 87 in her home. She was born in Israel to parents from Russia, and her first job was in a salt factory to help support her family. She then served in the Israeli army and its elite security services. After her time in the army, she pursued a career in professional opera, becoming a well-known performer. In 1949, she married a fellow opera singer, Levi Galperin, a Holocaust survivor, and a rabbi from Romania. The young couple moved to Philadelphia, where Yael was awarded a full scholarship to the Academy of Vocal Arts and was a prized performer. After moving to California in the 80s, she began to work with the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles, where she worked in the Bureau of Jewish Education for over 13 years. She was an avid reader, spoke several languages, and traveled the world. She will be missed by her husband, 3 children, 2 grandchildren, and 1 great-granddaughter.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Our next adjourn in memory will be by Mr. Bonta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Today, I wish to adjourn in memory of Captain Edward Tracy, a dedicated public servant, community leader, and respected law enforcement professional who spent more than 2 decades protecting communities throughout the state. Born in Hong Kong, Captain Tracy began his career in law enforcement at age 17 with the Union City Police Department. For the next 28 years, his career spanned throughout the East Bay, ending as a police captain with the San Leandro Police Department. In addition to his incredible service to the community, he implemented a number of programs and services that play a critical role in the ongoing operations and legacy of the San Leandro Police Department. For example, his strong partnerships with the community led him to start the department's first Santa on Motors, a program in which officers escorted Santa Claus throughout the city to meet with children from disadvantaged communities. Captain Tracy will be dearly missed by the communities he served and the many who loved him.
Thank you, Mr. Bonta. Our next adjourn in memory will be by Mr. Dodd.
Mr. Speaker and members, I rise today in memory of Joseph Phelps, one of Napa Valley's great wine pioneers. He passed away surrounded by family in St. Helena at 87 years old. In the 1960s, Joseph, who was at the time running a construction company, fell in love with Napa while building what is now Rutherford Hill Winery. His newfound passion drove him to purchase 600 acres of ranch land, and in 1974, the Joseph Phelps Vineyards was completed. The first crush marked the birth of Insignia, the winery's signature Bordeaux blend. Insignia would go on to international acclaim, and the 2002 vintage was selected the best wine in the world. Joe was regarded as instrumental in helping push the quality and prestige of Napa wine to ever greater heights. Through his involvement in the Napa Valley Vintners, Joe helped forge a sense of identity and community among winemakers in the Napa Valley. Simply put, the wine in Napa, indeed the wine in California, would not be what it is today without Joseph Phelps. Beyond wine, Joe served with honor in Korea, was a dedicated father and grandfather, and a pillar of service in his community. Please join me in remembering this extraordinary man whose tireless efforts have wrought an indelible impact on the history of Napa Valley and indeed on California's history. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodd. Mr. Gallagher, you're recognized at your desk.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, members, I rise to adjourn in memory of Leela Rai, who passed away on April 3rd, 2015 at age 55. Leela was an extremely successful businesswoman in our community, but most importantly, she was a reliable, loving, and generous friend. And I know I had the opportunity to serve with Leela on a Citizens Advisory Committee regarding flood control. Also, Leela was my grandfather's campaign manager when he ran for county supervisor. So I've known Leela for many years, and she served in our community in numerous capacities, including as a member of the Yuba College Board of Trustees and was also president of the Yuba Sutter Chamber of Commerce. Leela was very family and community-oriented, always tending to the needs of her city and friends. Her drive and work ethic led her to be a successful businesswoman, spearheading her own company and helping to improve the economy of our state. Leela also cared very deeply about education and worked as a counselor at Chapman College, where she helped students stay on track to graduation and offered career advice. Her kindness and expertise helped numerous students achieve their dreams. She also volunteered extensively with the American Cancer Society and gave hope to those in need, also the Yuba Sutter Arts Council. Leela was truly an extraordinary individual. Her kindness, willingness to help those in need, and service to her community are exemplary. She will be dearly missed by all who had the pleasure of knowing her, and therefore I ask that the Assembly please adjourn in memory of Leela Rai. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Our final adjourn in memory of the day will be by Assemblymember Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise today to honor a memory of one of my constituents and close friend, Gustavo Aranda. Mr. Gustavo Aranda was born in Texas, June 15, 1946. The parents of Gloria Ira Baez and Pedro Aranda. Mr. Aranda attended San Fernando High School and graduated with the class 1964. Mr. Aranda committed to ensure that all children had the opportunity to succeed education. Mr. Aranda was a college counselor for Mission College and a volunteer for over 14 years in Los Angeles Unified School. He participated in various organizations that address the needs of low-income individuals, those who with special needs, children and color. Mr. Aranda shared his passion for his community and outreach with the younger generation and taught them to be involved in the community beautification projects. His voice, as well as his work, advocacy, will be missed. So many he inspired with his vision. He leaves behind his dear sister Gloria, his loving niece Lisa, and his grandkids Susie, as well as many aunts, uncles, and cousins, and close friends.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Members, please bring the names to the desk to be printed in the journal. All requests to adjourn in memory will be deemed read and printed in the journal. Moving to announcements, the scheduled session is as follows. On Friday, April the 24th, tomorrow, no floor session, no check-in session. On Monday, April the 27th, floor session at noon. All other items remaining will be passed and retained. All motions will be continued. Seeing and hearing no further business, I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Holden moves. Ms. Waldron seconds that this House stands adjourned until Monday, April the 27th at noon. Quorum call is lifted.
Good job.